My family threw a party in my $2 million mansion 3 hours after they took it from me. Not after moving in quietly. Not after apologizing. Not after asking if I was okay. They threw a party. There were balloons tied to my staircase. Music blasting from my living room speakers. My brother Marcus standing near my fireplace with a glass of champagne, smiling like a king who had conquered a country. My mother Patricia telling guests, God finally gave this house to the right family. My father Leonard sitting at the head of my dining table like the deed had been born in his pocket. And Tasha, Marcus's wife, walking through my kitchen with a clipboard, telling people which bedrooms would soon be assigned to her children. My name is Naomi Bennett. I stood outside my own front door that night with my key in my hand, listening to strangers laugh inside the house I bought with 12 years of work. The house was called Rosegate. A gray stone home at the edge of Bellwater, with a wide porch, tall windows, a garden full of roses, a library with built-in shelves, and a sunroom where I drank tea every morning before the world started asking me for things. It was my first true home. Not a family home. Not a shared blessing. Not a house I bought so other people could decide I did not need it. Mine. My name was on the deed. My money paid the mortgage. My hands chose the curtains. My sleepless nights built the company that made it possible. But 3 days before that party, my parents had sat across from me in my living room and told me Rosegate should go to Marcus. They did not ask. They announced. Marcus had lost money again. A lot of it. Bad investments. Borrowed funds. Business promises. Private lenders. By the time the full truth came out, the hole was nearly $1 million. My parents said Marcus needed stability. Tasha said the children needed rooms. My father said the family name was at risk. My mother cried and said, "Baby, you are one person. This house has too much space for just you. Too much space." As if peace had square footage limits. As if a woman living alone owned only what others could not use. As if my library, my garden, my sunroom, my bedroom, my silence, my rest, my safety, were extra pieces of life waiting to be reassigned. I said no. Not loudly, not cruelly, just no. My father's face hardened. My mother cried harder. Marcus called me selfish. Tasha looked at the floor. Then my father placed a folder on the coffee table. That was when the air changed. Documents. A temporary family occupancy agreement. Emergency hardship housing paperwork. A moral transfer statement drafted by Darren Cole, a cheap document fixer my family trusted because he said legal words confidently and charged less than real lawyers. The papers claimed I had agreed to allow Marcus and his family to occupy Rosegate for family preservation. I had agreed to nothing. My signature was on the last page, but it was not mine. It looked close, too close, close enough to make my stomach turn. For 1 second, I could not speak. My mother whispered, "Naomi, don't make this harder." I looked at her. "You knew?" She cried into a tissue. My father said, "It is only temporary." Marcus said, "You can stay in the garden cottage until this settles." The garden cottage. The small cottage behind the rose garden where I kept Grandma Ruth's rocking chair, my journals, and the desk where I wrote every difficult thing I could not say out loud. They had not only taken my house in their minds. They had moved me into the backyard. I called Vivian Hart, my lawyer. My father called me dramatic. Marcus laughed and said, "Call whoever you want. The papers are already filed." That was not fully true. But it was dangerous enough. Vivian told me to leave the house for the night, not because I was wrong, but because my family had already shown they were willing to lie with papers. "Do not fight forged documents in a hallway," she said. "We fight them properly." So I left, with one overnight bag, with my laptop, with my grandmother's framed note, with my house still behind me. For 3 days, Vivian worked. Grace, my best friend and CFO, gathered bank records, property documents, signature samples, security footage, communications, emails, payment history, and anything else that could prove what everyone knew but law still needed to see. My family did not wait. They moved in. Then they threw the party. I found out because my neighbor, Mrs. Alvarez, called. "Naomi," she whispered, "there are cars everywhere." My hand tightened around my phone. "What cars?" "At Rosegate. People are going inside. There is music. I thought maybe you were hosting something." I closed my eyes. "No." She went quiet. Then said, "Do you want me to call the police?" "Not yet." I drove there myself. Grace begged me not to go alone. Vivian told me to wait, but pain does not always obey good legal advice. I parked across the street and watched people enter my house carrying food trays, flowers, bottles, wrapped gifts, and children's balloons. A banner hung across my porch. "Welcome home, Marcus and Tasha." My name was nowhere. Of course, they had erased me quickly. Marcus opened the door for guests wearing one of the dark shirts I had once bought him for a job interview he never attended. Tasha smiled weakly beside him, holding the baby of a cousin I barely knew. My mother hugged people. My father pointed toward the driveway like a proud host. Then I saw someone carry a framed photo of my grandmother Ruth from my hallway and place it on the porch table. As decoration. My grandmother, the woman who taught me never to sign under tears. The woman who told me, "Naomi, people will call your peace selfish when they want to move into it." I stepped out of my car. The rain had stopped earlier, but the street still shone under the lights. My heels clicked against the pavement. A few guests noticed me walking up the driveway. Their laughter faded. Marcus saw me first. His smile froze, then returned bigger. That hurt more. He opened his arms. "Well, look who came to celebrate." I looked past him into the house. My house. My staircase. My flowers. My dining table. My living room full of people drinking on furniture I had chosen after my divorce because I wanted softness around me. My voice stayed calm. "Everyone needs to leave." Marcus laughed. A few guests laughed too, because they did not understand the room yet. My mother hurried toward me. "Naomi, please, not tonight." I looked at her. "You threw a party in my house." She lowered her voice. "People are here. Don't embarrass the family." There it was. The family shame alarm. Not shame over forging papers. Not shame over stealing a home. Shame because I had arrived before the lie finished wearing lipstick. My father stepped in. "Naomi, we will talk tomorrow." "No, we will talk now." Marcus leaned against the doorframe. "Actually, you're trespassing." Silence. Even the guests seemed unsure after that. I looked at him. "Trespassing?" He smiled. "We have occupancy documents." Tasha's face tightened. My father did not look at me. My mother started crying again. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because tears had become the wallpaper of every family crime. I said, "Marcus, enjoy tonight." His smile shifted. He expected shouting, crying, begging. He expected me to explode so he could tell everyone I was unstable. Instead, I looked around at the party, the balloons, the food, the people standing inside the home they thought had been handed to him. Then I said, "Enjoy every room." My mother blinked. "Naomi?" I stepped back. "Because in 3 days, the bills begin." Marcus laughed again. "You always think money scares me." I looked at him. "No, Marcus. That is why it should." Before I continue, tell me where you are watching from tonight, and if your family has ever celebrated taking something from you before they understood the cost. Stay with this story. Because 3 days after that party, 30 bills arrived at Rosegate. And one by one, every smile in that house disappeared. I did not go back inside that night. That may sound weak. It was not. The old Naomi would have screamed on the porch until everyone watched her fall apart. The old Naomi would have tried to prove pain to people who came for cake. The old Naomi would have demanded that Marcus explain himself while he smiled for an audience. But I had learned something from Vivian. A person who lies with paperwork wants you to respond with emotion. Emotion makes a mess. Paper makes a record. So I drove away. This time, I called Grace before starting the car. She answered with, "Please tell me you are alive and not arrested." They threw a party. There was a pause. "What?" "At Rosegate." Silence again. Then Grace said very softly, "Did they put up a banner?" "Yes." She inhaled. "That is a level of evil I need caffeine to process." I told them to enjoy every room because in 3 days, the bills begin. Grace went quiet. Then she said, "Oh, what? You sounded like Grandma Ruth just then." That almost broke me. Grandma Ruth had been gone for years, but sometimes her courage still moved through me like blood, remembering where it came from. I spent that night at Grace's condo, not sleeping, just sitting at her kitchen table, while Vivian joined by video call and organized the next steps. First, we secured my personal banking, then Rosegate's mortgage information, then utility accounts, then vendor contracts, then insurance, then security access, then property tax records, then maintenance agreements, then everything connected to the house that my family had treated like a prize. And that was when Grace said the sentence that changed the whole situation. "Naomi, they think they got a house. They have no idea they stepped into a machine." Rosegate was beautiful, but beauty was not free. The mortgage was large. The property taxes were painful. The insurance was premium. The security system cost more than my father's first car. The garden staff came twice a week. The pool company had a monthly contract. The smart home system required service. The old stone exterior needed seasonal maintenance. The private road association billed quarterly. The rose garden had special irrigation. The library humidity system had a maintenance plan because of rare books. The guest cottage had separate utilities. The generator had a fuel and inspection schedule. The water filtration system billed monthly. The waste management service billed separately. The pest control company came every other month. The landscaping contract had just renewed. Rosegate was not just a house. It was a living financial organism. And because my family had forged an occupancy document claiming Marcus had accepted responsibility for household management, Vivian saw an opening. A clean one. If they wanted to pretend Marcus had legal occupancy and family management authority, then every household operating expense could be formally redirected to the person claiming control. Not ownership, not valid transfer, but responsibility under the very fake arrangement they created. Vivian smiled in a way I had only seen twice before. Both times, someone ended up regretting paperwork. They cannot selectively rely on a forged agreement for possession while rejecting the obligations attached to possession, she said. Grace clapped once. "I love when law gets petty in a suit." Vivian corrected her. "Precise, not petty. Even better." For 3 days, Vivian moved carefully. She did not create false debts. She did not trap anyone unfairly. She simply contacted every service provider connected to Rosegate and requested that all active occupancy and service notices be delivered to the current unauthorized occupants and alleged household managers. She also sent formal letters to my family. Not emotional letters. Legal letters. They stated that I disputed the occupancy documents, disputed any transfer, and demanded immediate vacation of the property. They also stated that because Marcus and my parents were claiming management authority and had physically taken possession, they would be receiving notices of all costs, obligations, pending payments, and liabilities connected to their unauthorized occupation. Grace wanted the letter to begin with, "Congratulations on your stolen mansion starter pack." Vivian refused. Barely. The first bill arrived Monday morning. Mortgage payment notice. $11,842 due. Tasha signed for it. Mrs. Alvarez told me later she saw her open the envelope on the porch. The second arrived by email and courier. Property tax installment. $18,600. Then home insurance. $4,900. Then quarterly private road association. $3,200. Then security system contract. $1,750. Then generator inspection and fuel reserve. $2,400. Then garden maintenance. $2,150. Then irrigation service, $900. Then library humidity control, $640. Then pool care, $1,100. Then guest cottage utility balance, $780. Then pest management, $460. Then waste and grounds hauling, $530. Then smart home servicing, $1,250. Then water filtration, $390. Then exterior stonework inspection, $2,850. Then cleaning service termination fee because they had canceled my cleaner to use Tasha's cousin, $1,300. Then invoice for damaged hallway floor from dragging furniture, $4,200 estimate. Then charge for unauthorized lock tampering because Marcus had tried to change one side entrance lock without approval, $875. Then attorney notice. Then second attorney notice. Then property preservation notice. Then insurance risk warning. Then lender concern notice. Then fraud review letter. Then occupancy dispute letter. Then utility transfer rejection. Then tax account warning. Then a notice about the consequences of misrepresenting ownership to vendors. 30 bills and notices in 72 hours. Not one of them invented. Not one of them exaggerated. Just the real cost of the mansion they had celebrated stealing. By Wednesday evening, the party photos had disappeared from social media. Marcus deleted the welcome home banner picture first. Then Tasha removed the video of herself saying, "New chapter." My mother removed her post that said, "God restores family." My father never posted, but he started calling. I did not answer. Marcus called 15 times, then texted, "What is this nonsense?" Then, "Why are bills coming here?" Then, "You're trying to scare us." Then, "Nobody pays this much to live in a house." Grace read that one and laughed so hard she had to sit down. "Nobody pays this much? Sir, welcome to the house you stole." I did not respond. Vivian did, through counsel. At 6:40 p.m. Wednesday, my mother left a voicemail. Her voice was different. Not the soft crying voice. Not the performance. Fear. "Naomi, baby, please call me. We didn't know it was like this. Your brother is panicking. Your father's blood pressure is up. People are calling. There are letters. Please, we need to talk. We didn't know it was like this." I listened to that sentence several times. That was my family. They loved the shine, hated the cost. They loved the rooms, hated the bills. They loved the idea of Rosegate as family property. They hated Rosegate as responsibility. The next morning, Marcus showed up at Grace's condo. Bad decision. Grace lived in a building with security, cameras, and a doorman who loved her because she tipped well and once helped his wife fix a billing issue. He did not get past the lobby. He called me from downstairs. I answered only because Vivian was sitting beside me. "What?" His voice was tight. "Naomi, stop playing games. No. You need to call off these bills. They are not dogs, Marcus." Grace whispered, "Actually, some bills bite." He continued, "We are not paying $11,000 for your mortgage." "My mortgage?" "Yes. The mortgage on the house you threw a party in?" Silence. Then he said, "That was not my idea." I almost smiled. The first crack. When success looked possible, it was his home. When cost arrived, it was my mortgage and somebody else's idea. "Marcus, you claimed occupancy. Temporary. You celebrated. Mom invited people. You measured rooms." He snapped, "Because the kids needed stability. And now?" Silence again. I let it stretch. He lowered his voice. "Look, we can work something out. Maybe Tasha and the kids stay in the main house, and I figure out the bills. You can cover the mortgage for a few months, since you were already paying it anyway." Vivian's eyebrows rose. Grace whispered, "The audacity has built a guest cottage." I said, Not ever. His voice hardened. There it is. Cold Naomi. No, Marcus. Clear Naomi. You would rather waste money on lawyers than help your family? I would rather spend money protecting my house than funding the people trying to steal it. He hung up. My father asked for a meeting later that day. Vivian agreed. Her office. No Rosegate. No dinner table. No crying strategy. My parents arrived first. My father looked tired. My mother looked frightened. Not of me. Of consequences. Marcus came 10 minutes late with Tasha, who looked like she had not slept. Vivian sat at the head of the table. Grace sat beside me. I wore a cream suit and Grandma Ruth's small gold pin. Not for them. For me, Vivian opened the meeting. Rosegate remains Naomi Bennett's property. Any alleged transfer or occupancy document is disputed and under review for forgery. My father flinched at the word forgery. Good. Marcus said, nobody forged anything. Vivian slid a copy of the signature page forward. Then explain how Naomi signed this while she was on a flight from Denver to Bellwater, confirmed by airline records, at the time this document was supposedly signed in Darren Cole's office. Silence. Tasha's mouth opened slightly. My mother looked at my father. My father looked at Marcus. Marcus looked at the table. Grace whispered, flight records. Delicious. Vivian continued. The notary stamp is also inconsistent with the registered notary seal. Darren Cole has been contacted. The title office has been warned. The lender has been notified. My mother whispered, Leonard? My father rubbed his face. I didn't know about the signature timing. I turned slowly toward him. But you knew I did not sign. He did not answer. Dad. His voice dropped. Yes. My mother covered her mouth. I looked at her. You knew too. Tears filled her eyes. Yes. Tasha pushed back from the table. Marcus, what did you do? He snapped. I did what everybody said needed to happen. No, she said. You said Naomi had agreed privately. He looked at her. You wanted the house too. Tasha went pale. Then she looked at me. I wanted safety, she whispered, but I knew it was wrong when we moved in. That was the first honest sentence from her. Marcus pointed at the stack of notices. These bills are harassment. Vivian replied. They are consequences. You occupied the property and represented yourself as household manager. I can't pay that. Then you should not have held a party celebrating possession. My father said, Vivian, we need a solution. Vivian looked at him. The solution is simple. Vacate Rosegate within 48 hours. Preserve all property. Pay for any damages. Provide every document connected to the false occupancy claim. Cease representing any right to the house. Marcus laughed bitterly. And if we don't? Vivian smiled. Then this becomes much less comfortable. Grace leaned back, pleased. My mother turned to me. Naomi, please. We made a terrible mistake. I looked at her. No, Mom, mistakes happen by accident. This had a banner. She cried silently. Not loud, not useful, just tears. I almost softened. Almost. Then I remembered standing outside my own house while strangers laughed under my roof. I remembered my grandmother's photo on the porch table. I remembered Marcus saying I could stay in the garden cottage. I remembered the forged signature. Compassion remained. Access did not. You have 48 hours, I said. Marcus exploded. You think because you have money, you can treat people like trash? I looked at him. No, I think because I have documents, I can stop people from treating my home like trash. He stood. This family is done. I nodded. The version that needed me silent is done. That quieted the room. For a second, even Marcus had nothing. They vacated Rosegate in 36 hours. Not neatly, not respectfully, but quickly. Mrs. Alvarez watched from her window like it was a neighborhood drama series. She later told me Marcus carried boxes out while shouting into his phone about betrayal. My father helped silently. My mother cried on the porch. Tasha carried the children's things and did not look back. When I returned with Vivian, Grace, a locksmith, and a property inspector, the house felt wounded. Not destroyed, but disturbed. Furniture moved. Guest room walls marked with tape. Pantry raided. Wine cabinet empty. 2 scratches on the floor. A broken vase. Grandma Ruth's photo still on the porch table, leaning against a flower pot. That nearly broke me. I picked it up carefully and wiped dust from the frame. "I'm sorry," I whispered. Grace stood beside me. "She knows you came back." I nodded, but tears fell anyway. The bills did not end with them leaving. There were damage assessments, lock changes, security upgrades, legal fees, contract corrections, fraud inquiries, insurance reviews. It cost me money. Real money. But that money bought back my peace. And peace, once stolen, is worth defending with invoices. The family fallout lasted months. Relatives called. Some said I went too far. Some said I should forgive because, at least they are family. Aunt Linda called and said, "I heard Marcus threw a party in your house." Yes. Did he at least pay for the drinks? I laughed for the first time in days. No. Then don't listen to fools who bring opinions instead of receipts. Aunt Linda had a way of making truth sit up straight. She continued, "Your grandmother Ruth used to say Patricia had a soft heart and a weak spine where Marcus was concerned. Looks like both got expensive." She was right. My mother asked to meet 6 weeks later. I said no. Then she wrote a letter. Not a text, not a voicemail. A letter. "Naomi, I am sorry for what we did. I am not writing to ask for the house, money, or forgiveness. I am writing because I need to name it. We took your home in our minds before we entered it. We used Marcus's loss to justify stealing from you. We told ourselves you had more than enough because we did not want to face that your brother had lost too much. I knew you had not signed. I knew that paper was wrong. I cried because crying has worked on you before. I am ashamed of that. The party was cruel. I called it gratitude, but it was celebration over your removal. I am sorry. Mom." I read it 3 times, then put it in a drawer. Not because it meant nothing, because I was not ready to hold it. My father's apology came later. In person. Vivian's office. He looked smaller. Not physically. Morally. Control ages poorly when truth arrives. He said, "I was wrong." I waited. "For what specifically?" I asked. He swallowed. "For letting Marcus file papers I knew you had not agreed to. For allowing your mother to pressure you. For sitting at the head of your table like it was mine. For calling it family preservation when it was theft." The word theft landed heavily. Finally, he said, "I thought if Marcus lost everything, it meant I failed as a father. And if I lost my home?" He closed his eyes. "I made that acceptable in my mind because you are stronger." I nodded slowly. That is not a compliment. I know that now. Marcus did not apologize then. Marcus raged, then collapsed. The $1 million loss followed him. The lenders did not disappear because Rosegate rejected him. Tasha left with the children after discovering he had used part of their savings in the failed investment. That was the line she could not cross back over. She came to me months later. Not for money. For referrals. A lawyer. A financial counselor. A job program. I helped her with structure. No cash handed into Marcus's storm. No secret rescue. No guilt. Tasha said, "I stood in your kitchen like I belonged there. I'm sorry." I asked, "For what specifically?" She cried, "For letting desperation make me quiet. For enjoying the idea of your house even though I knew it was wrong. For letting my children's needs become a weapon against your peace." I believed her. Not fully, but enough to begin. Marcus's apology took almost 2 years. Real consequences had to teach what family protection never did. He lost his rental, lost his marriage, lost easy access to my parents' money, took a regular job in warehouse logistics, lived in a small room above a mechanic's shop for a while. He hated me during that time. Maybe he needed to. Some people need a villain while reality introduces itself. Eventually, he asked to meet. I almost refused. Grace said, "Public place, no bags. No documents, no emotional ambush." Vivian said, "I agree with Grace, unfortunately." We met at a cafe. Marcus looked tired. Not pitiful, just tired. He sat across from me and did not smile. "I am sorry," he said. I waited. "For what specifically?" He breathed out. "For losing the money and making it everyone's emergency. For moving into Rosegate. For forging your signature." There it was. My chest tightened. He said it. "For throwing the party. For letting people celebrate in your house while you were outside. For telling myself you deserved it because you had more. For putting Grandma Ruth's picture outside like decoration. For saying you could live in the cottage." My eyes burned at the last one. The cottage. Always the cottage. A small exile inside my own life. "Why?" I asked. He looked down. "Because I was ashamed and jealous and scared, and because Mom and Dad always made room for me by taking some from you. I thought that was how family worked." That was the saddest, honest thing he had ever said. "I don't forgive you today," I said. He nodded. "I know, but I hear you." He swallowed. "Thank you." That was all he got. And for once, he accepted that all was more than he deserved. Rosegate changed after the invasion. I could not live in it the same way. At first, I thought I might sell. Grace said, "Don't let them take it twice." So I stayed. But I reclaimed every room. The living room where the party happened became a quiet room with soft chairs, no television, and shelves of books. The dining room table was replaced. The old one had too many memories of my father sitting at the head, like he owned the air. I bought a round table. No head, no throne. The guest rooms were repainted. The garden cottage became my writing studio again. I added a lock, not because I expected my family to enter, because my nervous system needed to hear the click. Click. Mine. Click. Safe. Click. Not ever again. Then I created the 30 Bills Project. Grace named it. Of course. I wanted to call it Rosegate Women's Property Defense Fund. She said that sounded like a law firm's nap. 30 bills, she said, has teeth. She was right. The project helped women protect their homes from family occupation, forged documents, emotional pressure, sibling debt, and fake, temporary arrangements. We taught women what I had learned painfully. Know your deed. Protect your signature. Control guest codes. Never let family move boxes in before terms are written. Photograph your home before leaving town. Use cameras. Keep documents safe. Do not sign under tears. Do not trust family agreements drafted by cousins with printers. Redirect costs when people claim control. And most importantly, a house is not truly yours if guilt has more access than your key. Women came with stories that made my heart ache. A sister whose family moved a cousin into her condo while she worked abroad. A widow whose in-laws changed locks. A daughter whose parents promised her spare room to a brother leaving prison. A single woman whose relatives told her she did not need a 3-bedroom home. A nurse whose family forged her signature on a rental application. We helped them, legally, financially, emotionally. Not with revenge, with records, with locks. With plans. At the first 30 Bills workshop, I told my story. When my family took my house, they threw a party. 3 days later, the bills arrived. That was when they learned a room is not just a room. Every room has a cost. And if people want the power of possession, they must face the responsibility attached to it. A woman in the front row began crying. She said, "My family only wants the bedroom. They never mention the mortgage." Exactly. That became one of our slogans. They want the bedroom, not the mortgage. Grace wanted it on t-shirts. Vivian said no, then secretly ordered mugs. Rosegate became both my home and, in controlled ways, part of the mission. Not open to everyone. I had learned that generosity without structure invites invasion. So the main house remained private, but the restored carriage house at the edge of the property became a legal clinic twice a month. Women entered through a separate gate. They sat with Vivian, met with financial counselors, learned how to say no before boxes arrived. My mother eventually volunteered. Not at first. I made her wait. She accepted that, which showed growth. Her first task was making tea and arranging chairs. No speeches, no leadership, just service. One afternoon, I heard her telling a woman, "If you know your daughter would say no, don't plan around her yes." I stood in the hallway and cried silently. People can change, sometimes, but changed people do not demand immediate trust. They build it quietly, chair by chair. My father helped once too. He spoke to a group of parents about what not to do. He stood at the front of the carriage house, nervous and stiff. I called my daughter's house family property because I was ashamed of my son's failure and afraid to say no to him, he said. Do not make one child's success the answer to another child's refusal to grow. The room was silent. Then women clapped, not because he was a hero, because truth from the people who once carried the lie can become useful if it is humble. Marcus never spoke at the project. That boundary remained. But years later, he sent a donation. Small, $200. The note said, "For one bill I should have paid." I stared at it for a long time, then accepted it. Not because money fixed anything, because accountability sometimes begins with paying something, even if it can never pay enough. Today, Rosegate is peaceful again. Not innocent. Peaceful. There is a difference. Innocence is before betrayal. Peace is after truth has cleaned the room. The roses bloom every spring. The library still holds Grandma Ruth's books. The sunroom still catches morning light. The garden cottage still holds her rocking chair. And near the front door, where the welcome banner once hung outside, I placed a small framed line from her old letter. Do not let people celebrate moving you aside. Make them meet the cost. Grace added a smaller note underneath. Bills are teachers. I told her it was too much. She said, so were the balloons. She won. My family threw a party after taking my $2 million mansion. 3 days later, 30 bills destroyed their smiles. People love the dramatic part. The banner, the balloons, the stolen rooms, the champagne, the forged signature, the mortgage notice, the 30 envelopes, the panic calls, the party photos disappearing. The lawyer smiling over paperwork. I understand. It is dramatic, but the real story is not about revenge. It is about responsibility. It is about how people love access until obligation arrives. It is about how quickly family property becomes your mortgage when the bill comes due. It is about learning that peace has maintenance costs, and nobody should enjoy yours while making you pay a loan. If your family wants your house, ask them about the mortgage. Ask about taxes. Ask about insurance. Ask about repairs. Ask about utilities. Ask about legal liability. Ask about damage. Ask about duration. Ask why they planned before asking. Ask why your no feels less important than their emergency. Ask why they call it sharing when only you are losing. Do not let anyone move into your dream because they created a nightmare elsewhere. Do not let forged papers scare you out of your own front door. Do not scream when documents will speak louder. Call the lawyer. Save the evidence. Redirect the notices. Protect the deed. Change the locks. And remember this: a house is more than walls. It is rest. It is safety. It is the right to stand in your living room without being treated like a guest. It is the right to decide who sleeps under your roof. It is the right to say no even when people cry. It is the right to keep the garden cottage for writing, not exile. And if they throw a party after taking what is yours, Let them dance. Only for a little while. Because every stolen room has a bill attached. And sooner or later, the music stops. My name is Naomi Bennett. My family took my mansion and celebrated before the ink on their lie was dry. I came back with truth, records, and 30 bills. I took back Rosegate. Protected my peace. Built a project that helps other women defend theirs. And learned that sometimes the most powerful revenge is not shouting at the party. It is letting the bill arrive with their name on it.